YouTube, what's going on, everybody? Listen, we got a great one for you today. The Game of Thrones House of the Dragon prequel series is right around the corner, and Game of Thrones themselves posted a video earlier today, and it's featuring George R.R. Martin talking about the upcoming series. Now, I'm guessing this is like a prep for what we need to know or good things to know going into this series. I'm excited. It says that there's an illustrated history with George R.R. Martin in this, so I'm excited to check it out. I can't wait for this series. Let's dive into it.
Dragons will rule the Seven Kingdoms for the next 100 years. Just as they did the last.
Dude, the dragons in this is going to be so sick.
The best fiction, the best drama is about characters. The story of House of the Dragon is a story about very flawed human beings, capable of doing good things, capable of doing monstrous things, capable of courage, capable of cowardice. These are the kind of characters that I love the most.
Hold on. That's one thing I love about Game of Thrones and George R.R. Martin's writing is he always has these characters conflicted. They're like, not a single character doesn't have, I mean, it's realistic. There's always dilemmas with characters in all stories, but in Game of Thrones particularly, there's always secret motives. There's always politics. There's always a game that every character is out to play or out to gain or something. And I'm excited to dive into that even deeper into this series. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I like his style of writing these characters and the depth that he goes into. All the finer details of his writing is crazy.
Game of Thrones
Before the dance
begins roughly 298 AC, almost 300 years after Aegon's conquest. House of Dragon takes place a couple hundred years before Game of Thrones.
right?
Jaehaerys Targaryen, the old king who was the fourth Targaryen to rule over Westeros, he was only 14 when he ascended to the Iron Throne, and he ruled for 55 years. It was a very peaceful time in the history of Westeros. It was a time of prosperity. King's Landing really grew enormously. It was a good time. Viserys the First, who is the heir that was chosen by the Great Council, when Jaehaerys passes away, he takes over, and he is now reigning over the Seven Kingdoms.
Sick.
There were a lot of Targaryens at that point, and you can see how the seeds of war are sometimes planted in a time of peace. People die.
How does he keep all this straight, bro?
Sons take over for fathers as lords, and they don't necessarily think they're bound by their fathers' allegiances or decisions or vows. So little by little, the seeds are sprouting. Game of Thrones focused on the Starks and the Lannisters. For House of the Dragon, the Targaryens themselves, the House of the Dragon, are at center, but two of the biggest players in the Dance with the Dragon Civil War are the Valerians and the Hightowers.
All right, so that's another thing we know is that there's going to be a civil war with House Targaryen, the House of the Dragon. And that's kind of, I guess, what he's saying here. What he's highlighting is that that's going to be a big focal point for the series, or like the direction that the show's going in.
In terms of history in Westeros, the Hightowers are the oldest. They've been there for thousands of years. Their seat of power is Old Town, which was for many hundreds and thousands of years the biggest city in Westeros. They're a very rich house. Old Town is wealthy from trade mostly. And in the center of it is the High Tower, for which the Hightowers take their name. Lord Hightower is in Old Town, ruling over his domains in the city. But his younger brother, Otto Hightower, is the hand of the king when the story opens.
Otto.
Same position we saw Ned Stark play to Robert at the beginning of Game of Thrones.
Okay, hold on. I already don't like that. He's comparing the same position to what Ned did to Robert in Game of Thrones. So this guy's dead. He's gonna die. That's great. Great, cool. Same fate as Ned. Hope not. Here we go.
The Valerians were also a house from the Freehold of Valeria, the mightiest empire in at least the West in my world. And they actually arrived in Westeros before the Targaryens. They were not dragon lords, however. They were seafarers. At that time, the freehold of Valyria depended a lot on its trade, and it was a good position to dominate trade from all the kingdoms of Westeros and from other places even further north. So they moved for reasons of trade and wealth. Corlys Velaryon is Lord Admiral and Master of Ships, as his own grandfather was before him of a similar name. So since Aegon's conquest, the Velaryons have been very high in the councils of the House Targaryen. And after all his voyages, he's married to Rhaenys Targaryen, the queen who never was.
Queen who never
House
was.
Targaryen and House Velaryon, they were close. There was a definite relationship between them. The Targaryens are also an ancient house, but they're not an ancient Westerosi house.
That Iron Throne.
They knew that destruction was coming to Valyria and went far away from the capital city, and they settled on the volcanic island
Dragonstone,
of
yeah.
Dragonstone. They were dragon lords in Valyria. Now, dragons are really formidable, and they can turn the tide of a battle. It flies. It's difficult to hit. It breathes fire, against which most knights and men-at-arms have little or no protection. So if you have dragons,
Dude,
and that's where the nuclear
just give me
option
all the
analogy
dragons, dude. This is gonna be crazy.
they're hard to mess around with. So the dragons and fear of dragons was one of the things that made the Targaryens very secure in their power.
Dragon Saddle's one thing, but the Iron Throne is the most dangerous seat in the realm.
Ooh, the Game of Thrones music. Bum, 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 bum. Dude. This is gonna be sick, honestly. I can't wait. That was cool illustrations. I really liked it. Yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to this. Let me know what you guys think. The detail, I just don't get how how does he keep everything straight? I get that it's obviously his stories and all of his writings, but his writing and stuff is so detailed. How does he keep it all straight? My man can't even finish the books. No, but it's funny listening to George R. R. Martin in this interview, this explanation actually reminds me a lot of George Lucas and how he does like his interviews talking about Star Wars, talking about his universe. They kind of have this similar mannerisms as they're just thinking about their world and what they've created and the characters they've created. It's really kind of cool. I love seeing these behind the scenes stuff and talking about the creation and art behind all this. So let me know what you guys think. I cannot wait for this series. Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon. It's coming soon. Can't wait for it. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you guys watching the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, peace.